Rivian is an electric vehicle company founded in 2009 by R.J. Scaringe, who is also the CEO. The company labored for years in stealth mode, developing their first products, defining the company ethos, to wit, off-road adventure vehicles. In this video, I'm going to suggest variants for the upcoming Rivian R3 siblings and make the case for turning their planned R3 small crossover into a driving enthusiast sleeper, the R3 Sport. It would be Rivian dipping its toe outside their off-road comfort zone. Rivian's initial flagship vehicles are the large R1T four-door pickup truck, first delivered in 2021, and the R1S three-row SUV, which came out in 2022. Both were designed with exceptional off-road capabilities. They established the company's authenticity, its bona fides for off-road excellence and premium interiors. The impressive second-generation versions of these two vehicles demonstrated highly efficient, cutting-edge computer topology and software system integration, enough to convince the VW Group to buy into that tech for more than $5 billion. That cash infusion will help tide Rivian over from its pricey flagship models until it can ramp up production of more popular midsize vehicles. The first midsize vehicle to use the new platform will be the R2 SUV, firmly in Rivian's adventure off-road niche. Introduced March 2024, it's slightly shorter than the Tesla Model Y, but bigger inside, like the TARDIS, due to its boxy shape. Starting price was announced at $45,000, with production commencing during the first half of 2026. On the same day the R2 debuted, Rivian pulled a "one more thing" moment and revealed the smaller R3, which stole the show. Some suggested the R3 should have been the first to go into production, but from a sobering marketing perspective, the R2 falls inside the most popular vehicle segment, so probably a good bet. The R3, on the other hand, is not as easily defined. R.J. Scaringe said it was hard to find something to compare R3 to. Maybe a small crossover, or a hatch. Sticking with the adventure off-road ethos, he said it had the heart of a rally car and a lot of ground clearance at 220 millimeters. The R3X fits that description. But the R3 does not appear to be such a good fit as an adventure vehicle. It's like a boy born into a family of 5 girls. His parents and his sisters, long entrenched in the routines of an all-girl family with their hand-me-downs. The boy soon figures out he's not the same as his siblings and asks, why does he have to wear dresses? The R3 is inherently a road car, but Rivian apparently can't help but to dress it up as an off-roader. 2 versions of the R3 were shown at the initial reveal, the plain and practical R3 and the extroverted R3X, which generated all the excitement. The R3X was introduced as the performance version of the R3, with a wider, taller stance, bigger fender flares, wheels and tires, and a powerful tri-motor drivetrain. RJ described it as insanity and incredible. 0 to 60 well under 3 seconds. He said the R3X would be Rivian's sports car. But what? An off-road sports car? Rallycross for sure. Not a big use case, but a big win for that image. Without doubt, the tri-motor R3X will be incredibly fast, but rocketing down a dirt road that fast? Insane indeed. But what about the plain R3? The CEO said it would also have great ground clearance and could be driven both off-road and on-road. It could be used as an everyday vehicle in the city, very maneuverable, with interesting functionality in terms of storage and cargo. It does indeed look great for carrying things, with a big hatch in back, folding seats, and a flipper glass rear window that can open independently of the rear hatch. Sounds like a highly utilitarian car, but unfortunately, like most compromises, probably not excelling either on-road or off-road. An exciting car that gets your heart beating, or just basic transportation? Certainly the R3X will shine as a performance off-roader, but the affordable R3 should not be relegated to live in its shadow, a down-market sibling. As long as there are two R3s, with one optimized for off-road driving, the other should be optimized for on-road driving. Yin and yang. The R3 should be designed to shine in its own right, as a class-leading driver's machine. Yes! For sure, RJ is a big fan of road-focused sports cars. When he was just 16, he bought and modified a VW Corrado and grew up in love with old classic Porsches. So he knows how to build a great sports car. It's just a matter of stepping back, re-examining assumptions, and deciding to build a car that doesn't have to be encumbered with off-road attributes. Just makes good business sense. Moving into 2025, Rivian is all hands on deck for putting the R2 SUV into production, scheduled for the first half of 2026. So R3 development is just starting. First, how many motors? As with the R2, expect to see single, dual, and tri-motor versions. With a car the size of the R3, the number of motors will define the use case for the car. So, basically, the number of motors will define the variations. We know the off-road R3X will have a tri-motor drivetrain, but for most off-roading, navigating over rocks, up steep inclines, and across streams, a dual-motor all-wheel drive version will be completely capable and quite powerful in its own right. A single-motor rear-wheel drive version would be a non-starter for an R3X. So my proposed R3X variants would be 1. A dual-motor trail-conquering adventure machine, and 2. An insane tri-motor rallycross monster. For its less presumptuous sibling, a road-focused R3 should also have two-motor variants. 1. A single motor for normal driving, picking up kids from school, grocery shopping, commuting. And 2. A dual-motor driving enthusiast hot hatch, the R3 Sport. Both of these road-focused R3 variants, single and dual motor, would have the prototype's elevated ground clearance reduced to enhance basic road handling as well as to lower drag. Going from high to low, before and after. A lower center of gravity gives you less body roll, better traction, more control, good for normal as well as enthusiastic driving. And with a lower drag, highway range would be significantly increased. The single-motor R3 would become Rivian's efficiency leader. For the dual-motor sport version, a number of enhancements would be needed to turn a functional road car into a performance hot hatch. The goal would be to have balanced, understated performance. Everything in harmony. No one thing that shouts. Talking about you, insane acceleration. A dual-motor drivetrain gives you the possibility of adequate power, say 300 kilowatts, 400 horsepower, that can be effectively applied to the road using all four wheels. That should be sufficient for a 0 to 60 time of 4 seconds. Anything more is wasted on public roads, and maybe lands you in jail. The same motor should be used both front and back. Balance. Some traditionalists will no doubt suggest more power on the rear axle. But why? For drifting? Which is slower than just keeping the tires stuck on the pavement. Front-wheel drive performance cars have been proved to be as fast or faster around a track than rear-wheel drive performance cars. All-wheel drive cars perform better than either. Use all four wheels equally. If you want, you can alter the power balance with software. And there are always four-wheel drifts, but that's for the R3X crowd. Dual motor all-wheel drive also means that regenerative braking will be through all four wheels. That's also power, sent from the wheel-driven motors back into the battery. Regen only works on wheels that are connected to a motor. With one-motor rear-wheel drive, regen only works through the rear wheels, so essentially two-wheel braking. With one-pedal driving, almost all slowing comes from regen, so you really want all four wheels working to slow the car if you're driving fast on a curvy road. Formula E electric race cars also generate regen power from all four wheels and two motors, and they generate so much regen power from the rear motor that they were able to just get rid of the rear friction brakes. They call their motors MGUs, motor generator units, for the benefit of the uninitiated to emphasize the dual-function nature of the motors, battery power to accelerate the car and regenerated power to decelerate. A car's software dictates how much power will be available for regen. On my Model Y, the maximum regen power is just 85 kilowatts, modulated by the pedal, which is almost sufficient for ordinary driving. For more enthusiastic driving, or when a traffic light suddenly changes, or you're slowing to a stop going downhill, more regen power would be so nice. Proficient one-pedal drivers hate having to shuffle their foot between the two pedals to control the speed. A maximum of 120 kilowatts regen power should be enough for a performance R3. Really not much when you consider Formula E race cars generate a maximum of 600 kilowatts of regen power. Balance. That word again. A 50-50 weight distribution, front to back, would be ideal for handling. Front and rear wheels working equally in a turn. Balance, ideal suspension geometry, low center of gravity, good tires, all should combine to give the R3 Sport 1G lateral acceleration. It's a measure of how fast you can go around a curve. If the car can manage that much lateral acceleration, the front seat side bolstering should be deep enough to keep you in your seat. You don't want to have to clutch the steering wheel to keep from getting thrown across the car. A lateral acceleration of 1G is equivalent to staying in your seat if your car was tilted at a 45-degree angle. Buckle up. The R3 Sport should also have adaptive dampers. The suspension should be stiff enough to provide great handling, but also adapt to rough roads to give a comfortable ride. This will be a daily driver after all. Balance, that word again. Batteries are heavy. Still. Add lightness and lower cost. An R3 Sport should be available with a smaller battery option to maximize performance. A bigger battery does not mean a better battery or a better car. 250 miles of range should be plenty. Even though most people don't drive nearly that far on a daily basis, and most charge at home, a lot of people want enormous range. It's emotional, not rational, but it's still a thing. For infrequent road trips, public charging is quickly improving. Keep in mind the R3 will not likely be available before 2027 or 2028. Expect that Rivian will option a large, heavy battery for those people who want one. But given R3's shorter wheelbase, battery options may be limited. Add lightness. A glass roof strong enough to provide rollover protection is a very heavy roof indeed, which adversely affects performance. And because it's at the very top of the car, that weight is terrible for the center of gravity. It raises it. In hot southern climates, that glass roof also turns the car into a solar oven. I speak from experience. A solid insulated metal roof for performance versions of R3 and R3X should be standard. An optional carbon fiber roof for performance R3s would be absolutely amazing. Painted body color, not heat-absorbing black. A tri-motor R3X has extreme performance, and it looks extreme. People who want to attract attention will buy the R3X. Enthusiast drivers will often not want to attract attention to themselves, especially from the constabulary. Remember, balanced, understated performance. Under-promise, over-deliver. The R3 Sport would be a blast to drive, but other than badging and different seats, it should look the same as the one-motor commuter version. The proverbial sleeper, a wolf in sheep's clothing. The R3 Sport will be an enthusiastic hit with car reviewers, garnering a lot of publicity for the brand and pushing R3 sales. The R3X will be the flashy sibling, but people who are serious about their driving would likely buy the R3 Sport. And the rave reviews would convince others with more mundane requirements to buy the also fun to drive single motor R3. More than 99% of R3 buyers will never take their cars off-road. How many will drive on roads like this? A single car in the wilderness. They'll more likely be in these surroundings. So why not optimize it as a road car? R3 Sport, an authentic road car for driving enthusiasts. They can also take your kids to school and carry your dogs with you to the grocery store. Go ahead, Rivian. Turn it into something great.